Hello and welcome to Europhoria, a podcast about the great, glam and garish from Eurovision past. As ever, I am joined by the brilliant Isobel Chilman. Hello, Isobel.
Thank you very much for that lovely intro. Hi.
How have you been this week?
I'm very excited all week long because of Eurovision You Decide.
Which happened about 3 days ago now. That's correct, isn't it?
2
days ago now.
Roland's really good at maths.
So this is, you may be thinking, having clicked download on this podcast, that, oh, is it a Thursday? No, it's not a Thursday. It's either a Monday or a Tuesday, depending on how late I had to stay up tonight editing it. But we're putting this out as a little bonus, Brucey bonus episode, because on Friday night, Eurovision You Decide happened, and you decided. As ever with our smaller episodes, as this will be a smaller episode, we're not going to down a whole bottle of red. So instead, we have a lovely can of gin and diet tonic.
Yay, my favourite cans of G and T.
Should we do a dual crack open?
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, in stereo.
Delicious.
So, with this episode, we're just going to basically go through. So we went on Friday night
because wonderful Roland here got us tickets as my Christmas present. Yay! And it was incredible. So Friday night, Eurovision You Decide. I head over to Hammersmith, get there a little bit earlier than before it starts. So I headed to the Hop Pole pub, which we saw online, which is where all the Eurovision fans are going to be going beforehand.
Yeah.
What?
You were wearing your fabulous jacket.
Oh my God, such a fabulous jacket. Well, I had on my fabulous jumpsuit and also my fabulous sequin jacket that I was given for Christmas. Which
very fabulous.
Just fabulous is the word for it, really, isn't it? And I was stood at the bar for all of 30 seconds before someone went, "Are you going to Eurovision tonight?" So, yes, I am. How could you guess? And it was a lovely man named Brian who was very welcoming and invited me to sit with him and his friends. As soon as he told me that those two friends had, they not only were all big Eurovision fans, but had in fact been to Eurovision Live, been to the final on more than one occasion. Amazing. In Sweden. I clearly jumped at the chance and sat down with them. Very quickly became very humbled by the other Eurovision fans in terms of Eurovision knowledge. They just knew everything, and they'd been to the live finals twice, and it was so wonderful. They were so welcoming and just told us so much stuff. When Roland got there later and came and joined us, and they just explained everything about the finals and what it's like and being there live, and especially a Swedish final, because as we all know, they do it the best.
They do it amazingly.
They do it brilliantly. They were saying how much of a festival it is, and it's just day in, day out, just hanging out with Eurovision fans and other Euro nerds. So we are desperate to go now.
Yes,
definitely.
Absolutely. It made us want to go even more. So then I joined the party, had a little sit down.
And that's when it got rubbish.
Came in, told a joke, went down like a lead balloon, I walked out again. No. So I joined in, and the conversation turned to that night, didn't it? And who we thought out of the 6 contestants would win. Now, throughout the night, like a true podcast nerd, I had my little phone out recording bits of conversation that we were having.
Proper little journo, aren't you?
So apparently so. So we spoke to Matt, who was
Matt Baker, not of Blue Peter fame. A better Matt Baker. So we asked him a couple of questions, and we got it on my little recording. Shall we have a little listen to the questions and what he said? So, Matt, as a storied Eurovision veteran, nothing to do with age, just to do with the amount of visits to Eurovision you've done, who is your prediction for the Eurovision You Decide tonight?
Tonight, I think Lucy Jones will win. It's not necessarily my personal favourite, but she will win.
So who's your personal favourite?
My personal favourite is Olivia Garcia?
Yeah, the 16-year-old.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the song is the best song of the bunch, but I think the stage will eat her up. She's too young. It's going to be too much for her. Although I would love to be proved wrong. I'd love to be proved wrong.
So, and do you think Olivia would give the UK their best chance for victory or getting high up in the scoreboards at Eurovision?
Of the 6 songs, yes, but I don't think any of the 6 songs are good enough to do that, what you just described. But it's a positive thing, you know. I think the BBC have thought about the types of songs that do well at Eurovision and decided to put a selection together that reflects that. Are the songs good enough? No, I don't think so, but they're on the right track and continue every year, you know, year upon year. If they continue like this, the reputation of Eurovision will go up. The music industry will start thinking, oh, maybe this is a good thing to get involved in, and so the right and talent will get attracted to the process.
So Matt Baker there predicting the how the night would go, and I think
he was spot on.
Well,
I think maybe he was spot on about the winner, but
yeah.
we'd said the same thing, that we thought that Lucy was going to get through, but we didn't want her to. So
yeah.
I was with Matt on this, that I actually preferred Olivia's song.
Yeah.
But I thought that Lucy would probably go through, and that's what happened in
yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, guys!
Yeah.
Lucy Jones won. But Matt wasn't. I don't think Matt was right about the stage eating Olivia up.
No.
I think she performed very competently.
Yeah.
Maybe she was too young. We discussed this in the last podcast about young performers. That doesn't seem to be the theme at the moment
yeah.
with Eurovision winners.
Yeah.
They seem to be older and more mature performers. And I think that if Olivia's song had been given to an older, more mature performer,
yeah.
it would potentially have done better. I think it could have been performed better. I don't think the stage ate her up. She did fantastically.
Absolutely.
But potentially it would have been better with someone else.
So, I mean, and we'll take
As would a lot of the songs, though, I think.
Absolutely.
A lot of the ones from this year would have been better with an old performer.
Yeah, I think you're right. So let's move on, and we'll go into a little bit more about our thoughts and feelings about the performers as we go through.
Yep.
So after our drinks at the Hop Pole, I guess.
Hot Pole.
The Hot Pole. It was just a pub. It wasn't how it sounds. Yeah. We walked around the corner to the Eventim Apollo in Hammersmith and entered the wonderful scenery that was the Eurovision You Decide, set up by the BBC.
Oh, it was so good.
And we have Isobel's immediate reaction to the surroundings on audio, captured by me, podcast nerd. Here we go.
Oh my god! So we are right by the judges' chairs. So there is a separate section in front of the stage which has 3 red chairs, as yet empty, as we're waiting for the famous judges to arrive. And on the main stage, it just looks like bloody Eurovision. There's all the branding and big hearts and lots of lights, and they're playing Mons Heroes at the moment. And there's lots of very excited Euro fans, mainly me, the most excited one. Oh my god, it's so good! I can't wait.
Clearly very excited there, Isobel.
Just a tad. I don't show it. I really try to hide my emotions as best as possible. Yeah, I was screeching. I was shaking with excitement. It was so great.
And we positioned ourselves quite well right in front of the judges' chairs.
I want it to be as close to Sophia Lespexter's face as possible.
But before anything actually kicked off for the live TV event, we had a really special panel, didn't we? Just for us in the audience.
There was a lovely little Q&A that happened beforehand with the wonderful Jon Ola, head of the EBU, head of Eurovision, Eurovision chief, god that he
Eurovision
is,
dream babe.
very absolutely sexy man that he is, so smiley and wonderful too.
There were several points during the Q&A where Isobel just whispered to me saying, he's so sexy.
It's because A, he is just a sexy man, and B, he has all that power
So
of Eurovision. Oh, you can smell it on him. Yeah, he's gorgeous.
So much
Although I did
power.
find it a little bit annoying. People kept calling him John.
John.
And that's definitely not
I know,
his
it's
name. I'm
Jon.
pretty sure Scott Mills called him John at one point. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Have a word.
But people kept calling him John, and I was like, his name's Jon.
Jon.
I'm definitely
Jon.
Jon, guys. He's Scandinavian. Like, come on, let's get this right.
It's me, John, the head of the EBU.
Jon Ola Sands. That's me, guys. Yeah, that was a bit annoying. But there was also the beautiful Alexander Rybak, who hasn't aged a goddamn day since he won Eurovision. It's insane. He still has the exact same face. There was a great tweet I saw that said something like, Alexander Rybak doesn't age because every full moon he sacrifices a violin to the gods or something, which was wonderful. But he hasn't aged at all. He looks exactly the same. Very cheery, very smiley, lots of fun. And then there was Nikki. of
the one that we wrote off at the
sorry about that. She's
last
very beautiful, but I'm not that bothered. Sorry.
No, she was fine. But so they gave a Q&A. There was lots of interesting stuff. There were lots of questions to Jon about if it'll expand to other countries and sort of what the plan is for Eurovision in terms of developing it. He didn't give that many answers. He said that they're open to ideas and they're always looking to get this to the biggest audience they can. So, the fact that last year was the first time that it was broadcast in America was interesting on the Logo channel, I think it was. And I'm sure, if Australia can join, then lots of other countries could potentially join.
Yeah.
So lots of interesting stuff, nothing truly groundbreaking, and it was just nice seeing Alexander Rybak's youthful face. So
beautiful.
Cheeky winky face. So then the lights dimmed, the cameras got turned on, and it began.
Oh, it was so good.
The 6 contestants walked out on stage and we saw their nervous faces.
They all were exactly... literally the first thing I said was, they're all exactly the same height. It was really weird. All of them exactly the same height.
They were quite cookie cutter, weren't they, in terms of like good looking, smiley, stagey kind of people.
I suppose that's what you have to be.
You do.
There was nothing... Yeah, they all looked quite generic, lined up in a row.
Yeah.
But very beautiful nonetheless.
Yeah. And it was all hosted by the wonderful Mel Goodrich.
She's just a gem and a half, isn't she?
Absolutely brilliant.
Clearly loves Eurovision.
Yep.
Was singing along to all the songs in between shots and when the cameras were off and they were playing Eurovision music to get the crowd going. She knew all the lyrics.
Yep.
She bloody loved all of it.
Yeah.
She's the perfect person for that job.
Yeah, it was brilliant. But let's get into it. Let's get into the singers. So first up was Holly with actually a fairly, for me, surprisingly strong performance. It was...
She kicked off the show really well. She absolutely nailed all of her... from in the crowd anyway, live there. Really strong performance, really good.
And what we said last week about actually the live performance will really determine what we really think of them.
Yeah.
For me, she did her performance and I thought much more of the song and of her singing ability than I did listening to the studio recording. Not necessarily the case for all of the people who performed that night, but Holly, I think did the best she could have possibly done that night.
Yeah, definitely. I think she nailed it.
So there were a particularly screamy bunch of fans just to the left of us on this stage, and we basically worked out that they were a bunch of friends.
All of Holly's friends,
all of Holly's friends.
With a big banner saying "Vote for Holly."
So
doing their bit to support their buddy, which was great.
So again, podcast nerd Roland came out and got my phone out.
Roving reporter Roland Boddenham.
And I decided to talk to them. So we have a little clip here from Bethan, one of Holly's friends. You guys are friends with Holly?
Yes, since school.
So how did she do just then?
Amazing. But we knew she would anyway.
Yeah.
She's so talented.
Like amazing vocals.
Incredible.
So she does this stuff quite a lot. Obviously, is this like one of the biggest stages she's been on, or?
Yeah, I mean, she gigs. That is her job. But this is something really special for her. So I'm praying that she wins because she deserves it.
We know that she didn't win, did she?
Oh, but she did do fantastically.
Yeah. She should be proud of herself for that performance. I think she did really well.
Absolutely, yeah. Good work, Holly. We're proud of you, and Bethan was proud of you, and all your friends were. If you couldn't see them in the audience, they were bloody rooting for you. We were all very aware they were big supporters of you.
So much so that at one point Isobel had to swap sides with me, so I would be like a wall between them and her. But that's fine, they were enthusiastic, and that's okay. So moving on, next up was Daniel.
Yes.
Now, Isobel, before you give judgment here, I managed to capture your immediate thought.
I've forgotten what I said
after Daniel's performance, so we're just going to play this right now.
I don't know who did the styling of him and the dancers, but they look like just a bunch of knobheads on a night out in Clapham. Who wears a polo neck on stage in Eurovision? I mean, come on, that's not acceptable.
I feel like
too many faces.
I feel like if he won, they might get more budget for a bit more costume.
Oh God, let's bloody well hope so. They need to glam that up. It looked awful. Everyone's going to be very polite. He did a very nice performance. It was fine, but it's not a Eurovision entry. I mean, come on, guys. That's not Daniel's fault, but I do blame many other people.
Harsh words, Isobel. Harsh words.
I'm a horrible human, aren't I?
No.
Well, it wasn't very impressive. We were stood next to, so everyone stood around us was everyone was super friendly and chatting to each other, and people were giving their own little crits of what was going on and nattering to each other in the crowd. And no one seemed very impressed by it. He was making a lot of very expressive faces, but that ended up being quite distracting. So it ended up being all that people were talking about. They're like, oh, more faces. It's very faces. It's all about faces. And the dancers and him, Jesus. I do agree with that I just said. Whoever dressed them, awful. They just look like... They did just look like a bunch of townies on a night out. Beige and brown, like polo necks, and black and brown and black. You just don't mix them. We all know that. No. Come on, that's an old basic.
I think you're right, and I think the opposite of for me from what Holly's performance was, in that I really like Daniel's studio recording version, and yet on stage it really fell flat.
Yeah.
His faces made me feel like he was nervous, and that was his way of dealing with the nerves, was making funny faces at the audience, and it kind of really took you out of the moment. It didn't feel like he owned the stage, despite him probably being one of the ones that moved around the stage the most. So he's a lovely man, and he, like you say, does have a great voice, but it's the performance that really counts, and for that it didn't work.
No, sorry, Daniel.
So
next up was Lucy Jones.
Yes,
inevitable winner of the night. And Lucy, as we'd kind of discussed earlier with some of the other Eurovision fans, part of the reason why we predicted she would probably win is that she is not only, I think, the most famous in terms of X Factor, but also she has had a successful career since then, and she's been in the West End. She has this huge Welsh following, kind of is well known throughout all reality TV shows. If there's voting, that if you are from Ireland or you are from Wales and you are competing, you have that whole country voting for you. They're behind you. So you're going to do a lot better.
Yeah. For me, she did own it. She was very professional. Yeah. She did...
Note perfect.
And was, had the audience in their hand in terms of she was giving the emotion and I think being really close to the stage, really close to her, it might have felt a little bit over the top sometimes. I think the same when you're in theatre is because they're projecting to the people right at the back. So when you see her and she looks like she's about to burst into tears from the back and from the cameras, it just looks like she's sad or emotional. So I think being that close, it was a little bit like, less so than Danielle, a little bit like, oh, she's making quite a bold face there, a big face.
Making a big deal out of this, isn't she?
But I think that probably translated really well to the whole back of the audience, but also to the TV.
When I was on Pointless, before we went on, the people working, the runners and the researchers that we were working with us, said to me one of my all-time favourite phrases, which was, so you know how they always say that the camera adds £10? Well, actually, it adds 10 frowns. Which at the time, me in a room of 20 other people, I was the only person that laughed at that, and I don't understand why, because it was hilarious. But that's because if you look just neutral on TV, it comes across as miserable or grumpy or sad. So you are encouraged to look a bit more over the top because it translates a lot better on TV. So I completely agree with you. Maybe to us it looked a bit much, but that translates onto TV as perfect amount.
Yeah, exactly. And she knew that. And that's also why I think, on reflection, a lot of people who were leaving that night who we spoke to, who may not necessarily have wanted her to win, actually said, you know what, she's probably the best person for it, because she'll go on that stage and she'll look down that lens and she'll communicate directly into the homes of all those millions of people watching.
Exactly. I think the world could fall in love with Lucy Jones. The song's not for me. The song's a very beautiful ballad. It's not for me, really. I'm not that interested. It's not going to go on my Eurovision playlist on Spotify. I'll put it that way. No. Whereas Freedom Hearts already has. But I do think that Lucy has the best chance in terms of making Europe fall in love with her. And from discussing it with other Euro fans, a lot of people were saying that they really hope that the BBC and Lucy and the publicity ham up the fact that she's Welsh rather than English, because maybe people will like
people
her
love
more.
Welsh.
Everyone loves the Welsh.
Everyone loves
really
the
cute.
Welsh, and the English don't have the best reputation in Europe.
No, which I also back that opinion. Definitely ham up that she's Welsh. Definitely ham up that she's got beautiful little puppy eyes,
Yeah.
and is singing an emotional song and is barefoot whilst doing it. And as I said to you, barefoot won the competition 2 years running. Loreen and Emily, who was one of the writers of Lucy's songs.
Of course, yeah.
And maybe, as we discussed the other night, maybe had a hand in the staging of it too. Just get your shoes off, Lucy. They bloody love it. Come on, just be barefoot.
And I think the Emmeline is going to be really helpful as well for the publicity in the lead up to Eurovision. You know, Emmeline won. She's effectively, you know, Eurovision royalty.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
like the interviews and things like that, if Emmeline's invested in it, which I hope she will be, and she won't just sort of let it go now, she'll be wanting that song to do well, so she'll make the connections with the people that she knows, and Lucy can have the important interviews with the people that they know will get them votes. So I think that will really help as well. So I think as an all-round package, we couldn't really have asked for a better winner, even if the song isn't necessarily to our taste. So moving on next to the next act, which was the lovely Olivia. On stage she walked, little precocious 16-year-old with a shiny dress and her one pocket.
Precocious in the way that is awful.
Oh no, in like
not like
in
when
like...
Dermot O'Leary called Justin Bieber precocious on the X Factor, and you could tell that he just meant brat.
No, she it was her confidence and the ability to go on stage in front of 1.5 million people and perform a great song and a great rendition of it. And again, she should be proud of the performance she gave.
Oh, so good. And again, where we were positioned in the audience, we just happened to be stood next to Olivia's adorable little sister Emily, who was without doubt the most nervous person I've ever met in my entire life. She was the sweetest little thing, shaking like a leaf. She just...
so many people around her were
everyone was looking
supporting
after her.
Like, oh my God, are you okay?
Every single person around us was just caring for her and making sure she was all right. These wonderful women in front of us who were the bonkers and brilliant, amazing Eurovision fans, just shoved people out of the way to make sure that Emily could be stood at the front of the stage to listen to her sister and watch her sister perform, which was really wonderful.
So she performed, there were flags, there was shiny outfits, and it was all an all-round great performance. And afterwards, we managed to speak to Emily on my little microphone. Let's have a listen to what she said.
With Olivia's sister, how do you think her performance just went?
I think it went amazing. I think it went really, really well. She smashed it.
And what do you think of the outfit? Did she have any part to play in choosing that, do you know?
No, I'm not too sure. She had a choice in it, but it looked really, really good.
She looks fantastic on the main stage.
Yeah, no, it's really good under the lights as well, very sparkly.
And has she been building up to this for a long time? Is this something she's
been practicing every single day, working as hard as she can. She was even on voice rest yesterday. She couldn't talk to me at all, saving her voice for today.
And if she wins, are you going to Kiev?
Oh yes, definitely.
Thank you so much.
It's okay.
Oh my God, I love that little girl so much. She was so wonderful. Sadly, obviously, Olivia didn't win. Maybe they'll go to Kiev anyway. I kind of hope they will and have a great time. Emily was such a little doll. Thank you so much if you're listening to this, Emily, for talking to us. We've been very vocal. We loved Olivia. I loved her performance. I do think if that song had maybe gone to a more mature performer, it might have got through. Yeah. But Olivia did so bloody well, and I think she's got a great career ahead of her.
Vocally she was flawless and amazing, her range and everything like that. So I think this was a great platform for her again. She was on the X Factor, and I think that she'll keep popping up until
still so young. She's got loads more to be able to do.
And similarly to Lucy, you could see her in the West End. You could see her in musicals, touring. I think she's going to do great. So,
Olivia, we bloody love you, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Yes, best of luck. So next up was
Nate.
At this point, Isabel, Isabel needed a little break. So
do you have a clip?
No, I don't. Okay. I have a roundup at the end.
So I needed the loo by this point. So I waited maybe 30 seconds into the song and then realised that actually I could probably just go to the loo.
Yeah.
Came back and found out that quite a few people in the audience had decided that was a loo break time as well. Really sorry, Nate. But no one was particularly enthralled by it.
It was that tricky time of night where they'd heard four songs and they just needed a break. We'd been standing there for a couple of hours already, and I think.
And Nate wasn't really doing enough to make you go, oh, you know what, I'll hold it for another 2.5 minutes.
It was interesting, actually, because you went away and So the song wasn't good at the start, and I don't think it held your attention. I don't think it held many people's attention from the very beginning. Actually, vocally, he was one of the strongest. And I began to worry at one point when you were away that his vocals would carry him through and he would win, and that you'd have missed the winner's song effectively, because actually his vocals were again pretty flawless, and that could be said for the vast majority of them. He was really strong, and he was doing some amazing things with like running the scales with his vocals and everything like that, and his vocals were really beautiful. The song kind of just washed over you. Yeah, it kind of it was a I need to go to the bathroom, I need to get another pint from the bar song.
Yeah.
And
which would at Eurovision translate into no one is listening.
No.
Like, there's so many songs. That's out of 6 songs.
Yeah.
When you're competing with almost 30 songs, you would have forgotten that 2 songs after it was played.
And I think the thing with Eurovision as well is that the ones that are forgettable are the ones that get 0 points. Sometimes the sort of more ridiculous ones get points from people. Yeah. Even if it's like 3 or 4, they'll get that fairly consistently. Whereas, I think that would have everyone would have gone,
What was the UK's one again?
Yeah, exactly. So, Nate, great vocals. Sorry about the song. Dear. So after that was the 6th and final entry, which was Selena, which actually
went down really bloody well. We discussed this though in terms of we weren't that keen on it the first time we heard it, then we listened to it again and thought, actually, this is quite a great song.
Yeah.
And on the night, her performance was incredible. The staging was great. It was really powerful. Everyone was really into it. Everyone in the audience was dancing. Loads of Selena fans surrounding us. Tons of people really into Selena, really wanted her to win. But since Friday, when I was tweeting about it, I've actually spoken to a couple of other people who watched it on TV who said that during the chorus, although we thought her vocals sounded fantastic, on TV fell flat a little bit. So her vocals didn't come across as strong. So maybe all of the backing music and how exciting and upbeat the actual song itself was distracted us from the fact that her vocals weren't that strong. So potentially, I mean, I don't know, I've not rewatched it on TV on iPlayer or anything. Potentially that's what lost it for her, because there were a lot of Selena fans.
There were a lot, and actually for me it felt like the one that could translate easiest onto a Eurovision stage, because they had a full dance routine, they had a full backing dancers, they clearly had quite a lot of time and money and effort put into the production of the thing, and I could see that on stage. I think I said to you at one point, like I could see this on Eurovision stage really easily. I thought, and I think actually, I tell you what, let's have a little...
I'll tell you what.
I'll
bloody well tell you what, mate.
Let's have a little listen, Isabel, to your immediate roundup after Selena played, to see what your thoughts were.
I genuinely can't remember any of these being recorded. I'd only had 2 gins.
Let's have a listen.
Isabel, 6 people have performed. Has your opinion changed as to who's on top and who you want to go through?
What did I say before? I thought that Lucy would go through. Yeah, that's
you
what
thought
I said.
You wanted Olivia.
So I wanted Olivia, thought it would be Lucy. I now still want Olivia, think it will be Selena. Judging by the audience reaction, everyone in here went crazy for
People
Selena.
love Selena
That's
in here.
Insane. Both of the boys, I think, are duds. Quite a few people were talking about how Nate, bless him, great vocalist, but his song was a nip to the toilet song, which quite a few of us did. I went to the bar while it was on, nothing to be missed. I think the girls have really owned it tonight, so one of them is going to be the winner.
We will see in about 20 minutes.
So... yeah, I mean, at that point, like we said, we thought Selena was... it was in the bag for Selena. So they lined them all up. And Mel got her little card out. Actually, before...
Alexander Rybak performed. We haven't even discussed that.
We haven't discussed that. We haven't discussed bloody Sophie Ellis-Bextor either.
Oh my goodness, the judges, Sophie Ellis-Bextor with her angel porcelain face, so poised with her notepad, taking it all very seriously.
Yeah, she did.
Bruno Tonioli was just ridiculous but hilarious, jumping up out of his seat all the time, getting his makeup redid.
Yeah. Cece
was very vocal. I mean, you can tell she's a vocal coach. She's very, pronunciation is key, big wide mouth with everything she's saying, but she was fabulous too. And Ellis-Bextor got a couple of boos though with some of her crits.
One of my favourite tweets as well about Sophie was that it said Sophie has mastered the art of avoiding saying something when she doesn't want to say something nice about people. So I think there were a few things that Sophie decided to say that were not necessarily positive about people, but were probably no doubt fair.
Yeah, and they were there as a judging panel, so
exactly.
Judge.
And it was great seeing them up close. We were literally feet away from them, and there were points where I just saw Isobel sort of just staring into the face of Sophie Ellis-Bextor and had to kind of...
Me and the chap next to me were just swooning hugely. And I got a photo with her afterwards and everything. She's got a perfect face. My face looks ridiculous on the picture. She looks like an angel. I look like a bit of an idiot. But she was wonderful.
Yeah.
And Alexandra Ibach performed. And that everyone just screamed.
Yeah.
Everyone went crazy.
Brilliant.
He's just... And, oh, God.
And just great. So
love him.
So Mel unveiled the result, and it was to be that Lucy is going to be our Eurovision entry for 2017. As we've already said, it's not a secret. She burst into tears and did the
immediately.
"Oh, I can't believe you voted for me," which was, beautiful and as it should be. Like, if there were flowers being thrown onto stage and she was handed a bouquet, it would have been like,
oh,
perfect.
that should have happened.
I know. Like, I can't believe you've done it.
You like me. You really like me.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've sort of said it all, really. She's a good winner. She's going to do the best she can and the best that the UK can deliver.
The discussion afterwards, though, was that people thought maybe staging needs to be worked on for the actual Eurovision final, because at the moment it does feel like it needs just a bit of a somewhere. Whether that's in, are they allowed to change the production of the song?
Yeah, they are. There's been a lot of talk about that.
So maybe in the change of the production of the song slightly to give it a bit more of like a add a beat to it. Yeah, just something
just in the last chorus.
Just a final shove through into this is the bloody best song you've ever
shove through into the
heard.
left-hand side of the board.
Exactly, just shove us onto that left bit. And in terms of her staging as well, keep the barefoot. I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah.
Barefoot wins. Be barefoot.
Emmeline knows.
Emmeline bloody knows.
She knows.
Doesn't she? She knows.
She knows.
She knows.
So I mean, that was the end of the night, apart from the queue for the dressing room and the guy outside who called me extremely fucking shaggable.
Wow, was he drunk? He was fantastic.
He was. I'm sure he had very clear mind and clear judgment when he called me that.
Yeah, he was. They were great fun. They were bonkers. Yeah, biggest queue for the dressing room ever, and we kept hearing from up at the top, where the queue went all the way up to the top of the building to go down to get our bags. We kept hearing screams from down below, which is as the losing contestants were coming back out and hugging their friends and family, which was very beautiful to see. And they were all being very cheery and wonderful, and all their friends and family being very supportive. And they went back to the hop and pole.
Yep.
Another drink, bit more of a Eurovision natter to some of the fans.
Yeah. And off we went.
And then done.
It was a bloody good night, actually.
I had so much fun. Eurovision fans are the bloody best.
Yeah.
They're so inviting, so welcoming. I mean, 90% of the people in that room were just middle-aged gay men.
I know.
Who are always just great fun to be around anyway. But everyone was so wonderful, and there was lots of chat in terms of, well, if you're going to be at this one, let us know, and swapping numbers, and we'll give the podcast a listen to, and really supportive. And it's wonderful to be part of the Eurovision family in that sense.
Yeah. So thank you so much to anyone we met and anyone who was there and listens now. Thank you so much to you as well. We're going to resume normal podcasting on this Thursday, so be sure to listen in then.
We're going to have a normal episode this Thursday, so listen to that, and then back to normal for the foreseeable. And then as soon as we start getting closer to Eurovision again, I think we'll change things up, and we'll have to start and we'll just get really awful and screechy. But thank you so much.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye.